Audio test one, two. Okay, working good. 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 Audio test one, two. Okay, good. Audio test 1 2. Okay. Okay, working good. Audio test 1 2. Okay. Okay, working good. Audio test 1 2. Okay. Okay, working good. Audio test 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Everything seems to be working. Audio test 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Everything seems to be working.
Alright, welcome guys welcome everyone to another coffee tasting live with Irish. Today we are tasting the West Java. With this we are getting notes of cedar and sweet molasses. I'm super excited about this one because this one is roasted a little lighter than we're normally used to with an Indonesian coffee. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. It is an honor to have you guys here. For those of you who are new to this, we like to try our coffee tastings three different ways. Welcome guys. Pour over, Chemex, and French press. That way we can explore the different flavor notes. Welcome everyone to another coffee tasting live with Irish. So when we brew our coffee, we have two different factors that affect the flavor of our coffee. We have our sediments and our oils. So by changing the brew method of our coffee is going to allow us to change the flavors that are predominant in the coffee that we're drinking. So the purpose of this video is to explore different ways to drink coffee and how to bring out the different flavor notes that we want, and then also to learn a little bit about the history and culture of coffee, where it came from, and how it affects our coffee tastings. Alright, welcome guys. Pour over, Chemex, and French press. That way we can explore the different flavor notes. Welcome everyone to another coffee tasting live with Irish. So when we brew our coffee, we have two different factors that affect the flavor of our coffee. We have our sediments and our oils. So by changing the brew method of our coffee is going to allow us to change the flavors that are predominant in the coffee that we're drinking. So the purpose of this video is to explore different ways to drink coffee and how to bring out the different flavor notes that we want, and then also to learn a little bit about the history and culture of coffee, where it came from. So with the three different brewing methods that we're brewing today are going to be the pour over, the Chemex, and the French press. The reason why I like to choose these three different brew methods is just because they're the reason why I like to choose these three different brew methods is because they're more well known and they're easier to set up. Some of the other coffee setups a little bit more set up or require a little different ways to drink coffee and how to bring out the different flavor notes that we want, and then also to learn a little bit about. So when we brew our pour over and Chemex, so with the we want to bloom our coffee. And so what the blooming that the coffee does is it allows our oils, pour over, the Chemex, and the French press. The reason why I like to choose these three individual methods is just because of the surface. And so this allows for coffee to fully extract all the because there's more gases and they're easier for the coffee to come out, and then in the air a little bit more surface that we can set up for different ways to drink coffee and how to bring out the different flavor notes of the brew process. And then also so that is going to be very important to make sure that we get a full flavor cup of coffee. And so what the blooming that the coffee does is it allows our oils pour over. So now that we've given our coffee a little bit of time to bloom, now we are going to start the turn and set for surface. And so this allows for the coffee to fully extract all the because there's more gases and they're easier for the coffee to come out, and then in the air a little bit more surface that we can set up for different ways to drink coffee and how to bring out the different flavors of the brew process. And then also so when we change the flavors of our coffee, we're essentially changing one of the to our coffee. And so what the blooming that the coffee does is it allows our oils pour over. So now that we've given our coffee a little bit of time to bloom, now we are going to start the turn and set for surface. And so this allows for so when we change the no. easier for the coffee to come out, and then in the air a little bit more.
Good point.
Set up for sorry about that, guys. So when we change our brew method coffee, we're essentially changing oil into our coffee. The oil levels and the sediment levels. And by changing the level of oil, sediments are changing the flavors that we're getting. So the sediments are tied to the bitter flavors, and the oils are tied to the bright flavors. So when we change the more oils that we get, the more bright notes we're going to get, and more sediments, the more bitter notes that we're going to get. So with all three of these methods, it changes the ratio of oil to sediment ratio, and so it's going to give us a different flavor for each different method. Sorry about that, guys. So when we change our brew method coffee, we're essentially changing oil into our coffee. The oil levels and the sediment levels. And by changing the level of oil, sediments are changing the flavors that we're getting. So the sediments are tied to the bitter flavors, and the oils are tied to the bright flavors. So when we change the more oils that we get, the more bright notes we're going to get, and more sediments, the more bitter notes that we're going to get. So with all three of these methods, it changes the ratio of oil to sediment ratio, and so it's going to give us a different flavor for each different method. So while we wait for the, so then we change the we're going to start off with the pour over. So with the pour over, we're getting more oils to sediments. And so the reason why that is because by changing so the paper filter is going to be trapping a lot of the sediments out of our coffee, but the paper filter can only absorb so many oils before the oils start to push its way through the filter into our coffee. So the paper filters can essentially only capture so many oils before all three push its way through, so we end up with an oil-heavy coffee. With the French press, we're going to have a high oil and high sediment ratio. So while we wait for the so then we change the with the Chemex is pretty much similar to the pour over. We're getting coarser grind to allow the water to pass through. The reason why that is easier, but then also we have a triple paper filter is going to be trapped that's going to absorb out of our coffee, but the paper filter and then because it's a triple paper filter with different material, it's going to slow down. So the paper filters, so that's why we use so many oils for grind. So the coarser grind is going to cause, so we end up with an oil-heavy coffee. With the French press, we're going to have a high oil, high sediment, so that we don't overdo our coffee. So that's really important when we Chemex is making sure that we pour over the grind, the coarser grind, water, and water passes through easier. But then also we have a triple paper filter. Water is filtered that we're measuring a lot of oils that we in the paper filter out. And then because it's overbrewing or underbrewing, it's going to slow down. So they're so that's why we that is super important because whenever we oil heavy coffee, in the French press, we are doing the highest material, so that's what that tastes just so that's really important when we Chemex for us to honor the pour over is right, and make sure it's right, and then also for us to enjoy it. But then also we have a triple paper filter. Water is filtered that we're measuring a lot of oils that we in the paper filter out. And then because it's overbrewing or underbrewing, it's going to slow down. So that's why that is super important because whenever we oil heavy coffee, in the French press, we are the highest material. So first we start off with the pour over. This one we're going to have higher oil ratios, so we're going to Chemex for us to bright water. So I'm guessing we're going to that zero brightnesses, and then also for us to enjoy it. So first off, also we smell it. The water is filtered. We're measuring the water flavor. The scent of cedar comes right off of it. It's super subtle. It's really nice. Overbrewing or underbrewing. Normally when you get like a coffee woodsy, so that's like really woodsy. So this one that is super sweet because whenever we oil heavy coffee, in the French press, we are the highest material. So first we start off with the pour over. So that cedar does higher oil ratios, so we're going to use it for us to flavors. So I'm guessing we're going that zero brightnesses, and then also for us to that is really good. So the cedar doesn't come out too strong though. Sometimes the cedar can be overwhelming flavor. It's definitely got that molasses sweetness right off of it. It's super subtle. It's really nice. Overbrewing or underbrewing. Normally when you get like an coffee or woodsy, that's like really woodsy. So this one that is super sweet. Whenever we boil up, French press, so that's the first we start off. All right. So that Cedar does. Sorry about the interruption, you guys. The new puppy is trying to come into this little setup. It's real nice, and then also that is really good. So the Cedar doesn't come out too strong though. Sometimes the Cedar I think you guys will be flavor. It's definitely got that molasses. Now we are going over to the Chemex. With the Chemex, we are going to get a little bit of that less of the oil notes. So any of those notes that we're getting from the oil is not going to be as predominant over on this side. And so we're going to probably get a little less of that sweet molasses and less caraway. All right. So that Cedar does. Sorry about the interruption, you guys. The new puppy is trying to come into this. So coming off of the scent, it's still very similar to that is really good. So the Cedar doesn't start pour over. Seeing you guys now we are going over to the I suspect because we are a little bit of that less of the oil notes. So any of those notes that we're getting from the oil is not going to be as predominant over on this side. Really hard to insert. So we're going to probably get a little less of that sweet molasses and less caraway. All right. So this one, sorry, it's actually what I suspected. It's not as sweet. So we're definitely getting more of the very similar bitter woodsy notes. That's really good. But it's not very over. Seeing you guys. Now we are going over to that is really good. I'm super smooth, really mellow, with a really nice woodsy flavor. Oil notes. So any of those notes that we're as you go back to it, you start to get a little bit of that sweet molasses. The sweet molasses as you start to get bitter notes of the wood. So this one, sorry, it's actually what I suspected. It's not as sweet. So we're definitely getting. I really like that. That is delicious. This one you get a little bit more of the sweet notes along with the coffee. While this one you kind of have to keep sipping on it to get that sweet. That is really good. Super smooth, really mellow, with a really nice woodsy flavor. Oil notes. So any of those notes that we're as you go back to it, you start to get a little bit of that syrupy mouthfeel. While this one doesn't really have that. So this one, it's actually what I suspected. It's not. So now we're going to go over to the French press. I really like that. The French press, we are getting this one. You get a little bit more of the coffee. So we're going to get a very full. While this one, you kind of have to drink the sweet on it to get that sweet. That is really good. Super smooth, really mellow, and then because the nice flavor as it washes away, it's going to give way to that sweet. As you go back to it, you start to get a little bit of that syrup. So this one, I'm serving Cedar like the least. While this one, getting like a really have that. So this one, it's actually what I suspected. So now we're going to go over to the French press. I really like that. The French press, we are getting this one. You get a little bit more of the coffee. So we're going to get a very full. While this one, you kind of have to drink the sweet on it to get that sweet. That is really good. Super smooth, very bright, and then you get the flavor. I'm guessing that's the caraway. So the caraway and the molasses sweetness. As you go back to it, you start to get a little bit of that syrup. So this one, I'm serving Cedar like the least. While this one, getting like a really have that. So this one, it's actually what I suspected. So now we're going to go over to the French press. Very surprising. Because normally when you get the French press, this one, you get the French press to the compared to the other three. This one, the French press seems like the sweetest. We get a little bit more of that. You get the caraway flavor, I'm guessing like the caraway. So the caraway, the Cedar kind of comes in. So now that everything's kind of settled down, I'm getting this one serve the Cedar flavor. This one getting like a just have that center of the tongue. So that's pretty much what I'm left with right now. It's not overwhelming. French press, very really smooth for being a French press. French press, this one, French press to the Out of the three, I would say this one is definitely my favorite, just because it's smooth and easy it is to drink. We get a little bit of French press with the Caraway flavor. Second favorite, Molasses Sweetness. And then the Cedar kind of comes in as Molasses Sweetness. So we get everything with very settled down with the very get a little sips, and then we get that Cedar flavor that kind of holds on. So that's pretty much what I'm left with right now. It's not overwhelming.
I'm not a big fan of the floral. It's not bad, but I'm not a big fan of the floral. Just
press to get more of that. Out of the three, I would say the flavor that we're getting is definitely my favorite. Gives it a little bit more of a brightness to it. I wouldn't say really drink. You get a little bit of French press with all the French press, but the flavor is nice. And then the Cedar kind of comes in as Molasses Sweetness. So we get everything with very settled down with the very get a little sips, and then we get that Cedar flavor. Really good. I like this one. Just because it's like really balanced.
I'm not a big fan of the floral. It's not bad, but I'm not a big fan of the floral. Just press to get more of that.
Out of the three, so that is the Indian West Java coffee. It is a richness to it. Basically, you get a little bit of French press with French press. So with West Java, what's really cool about the West Java is West Java is not the same. So the island of West Java is just east of Sumatra, and then we get that. It is really good. I like this one. Just with this island, it is really balanced.
I'm not a big fan of the floral. It's not bad, but I'm not a big fan of the floral.
Out of the three, so that is the Indian West Java coffee. It is a richness to it. Basically, starting to get a little bit of coffee or so with West Java, what's really cool about the West Java is so West Java started colonizing. So the island of West Java is just east. When they were in India, they so getting the coffee. It is really good. I like this one. Just with this island, it is really they started to cut the coffee beans because they're so popular ones. They gave everyone, and then they Dutch. So that is the coffee beans of West Java in Asia. And they took coffee over to Sumatra and West Java. West Java, so they Java on is West Java. And when they first took coffee over West Java, so they actually didn't thrive at first. And when they were in India, it destroyed all the experimental coffees. Really good. Grow there. I like this one. Like 4 years later, with this island, it's really they started to cut the coffee beans because they're so popular ones. And they gave everyone Java. Now to this day, the coffee is so that is the coffee beans like Java in Asia. Same thing. They took coffee over to Java. It's coffee lovers. And they got coffee on because it's got like prime nutrients and it's a very actually didn't thrive to maintain it. So that's one of the cool things about Floral coffee and some of the things that started to grow there, especially with this being like coffees, it's just with this island lovers. These coffees were directly sourced from them, making sure that you're adhering to cafe practices, making sure that you making sure that you say the shareholders of the farmers, like the small farmholders, that they're getting a fair price for the beans, and also making sure that they are given knowledge of maintaining practices. So that's one of the cool things about Floral coffee and some of the things that started to practice there. This is all about coffee, it's just economy, making sure that farmers are coffees with directly sourced resources and making coffee. One of the main things that's hitting the farmers right now would be say quota of just being involved cars that they're just being able to grow and also making sure that they are given knowledge provide for the land at the same time. And so that's why a lot of farmers have really good coffee for like future generations instead of astronomy and information oil and technology tools, which make future coffee growing, because one of the main things that's and so one of the things that Starbucks is doing their nurseries in Florida, and they're just their nurseries are being able to grow things, also making sure that they are very practices and about how they provide good design and so that's why a lot of farmers have really good coffee or like soil agronomy, microclimation to tools, which make more sustainable and growth. And then also learning about like things that's and so one of the things that starts to do that way farmers can yield the maximum coffee color, flavors, and so with land scarcity, learning how to use it as much as I can without having to give up flavor and quality is a lot of the science that goes on in soil and world. They share that with farmers to free so that they continue to grow coffee sustainably and provide for their families. And then also learning about like things that's and so it's really cool some of the things that's going on around the world, especially with small lot coffees and also how much we give in yield back to the coffee flavors and community. So whenever you guys buy a bag of reserve beans, just know that you are direct land scarcity, learning how to grow it can without having to continue doing what they're doing. And also we are giving back to like soil, world, and share that with farmers free so that they very sustainably and also give back. And then also and so it's really so thank you guys so much for joining us. This is today's tasting from West Java, from Indonesia, with Cedar. So and whenever you guys buy this, really good. My favorite version of it was the French press. Grow it. Second favorite brew method. Continue doing what they're doing. The pour one was really good. We get a little bit more of that like soil. It's sure that like bland, fruity flavor because it varies like sustainably fermented. So that's kind of what I get from the pour over flavor. But still, so thank you guys so much. None of the flavors are super strong. I tend to lean away from Indonesian Java, from Indonesia, with too strong flavor. So, but all three brew methods are really, really good. Really good. My favorite version of that are like the French press. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys get an opportunity to try this coffee. It's really good. Get a little bit. I will see you for the next coffee tasting. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Bland, fruity flavor because it varies like sustainably fermented. So that's kind of what I get from the pour over flavor. But still, so thank you guys so much. None of the flavors are super strong. I tend to lean away from Indonesian Java, from Indonesia, with too strong flavor. So testing 1 2 testing hello testing okay. Welcome everyone to another live stream. Welcome everyone to another live stream. My name is Irish, and today we are tasting the West Java, Indonesia. And with this particular cup of coffee, we are getting notes of cedar, caraway, and sweet molasses. And so for those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. And those of you who are returning, welcome back. It is an honor to have you here tasting this coffee with me. And then for those of you who are returning, we like to brew our coffee 3 different ways. We have a pour over, a French press, and a Chemex. And so the reason why we try these coffees 3 different ways is to explore how coffee changes in flavor when we change the brew method. And so we have 2 main factors that affect the flavor of our coffee. We have our sediments and we have our oils. And so the oils are going to be tied to the bright notes of our coffee, and the sediments are going to be tied to the bitter notes of our coffee. And so when we change the bitter or the oil and sediment ratio, we're going to change the flavors that we predominantly taste in our cup of coffee. And so that's pretty much why we change the brew methods on this channel, is just so that we can explore how to change the flavor of our coffee so that we can better enhance our experience and bring out the flavors that we want. And so first we're going to try the pour over. With the pour over, we have a regular paper filter. With the regular paper filter, we're going to filter out the sediments, but we're going to let some oils pass through. So with the paper filter, it's going to capture some oils, but then the next set of oils that's going to try and pass through is going to push the current set of oils through the filter. And so oils get through, but not a whole lot of sediments do. Just very minuscule amounts of sediments make it the way through. Because of that, we're going to get more of the bright notes from this coffee. And so when I smell the coffee, we're getting a little bit of that cedar flavor, but we're getting like what I like to call like almost like a fermented fruit. It's not like super pungent, but it's almost like a bland fermented fruit scent with a little bit of cedar. So with that flavor, we're getting that almost sour, fruity flavor right off the bat, and then we get that cedar notes. So we're getting that really, really bright flavor, and that's because we have like such a high oil ratio to the sediment. So we're impacting the flavor by adding more oils, and it's going to give us a little bit more of a brighter cup. In the case of this one, we're getting like a little bit more of those fruity notes, and it's a little sweet at the same time, and like I said, it's almost like a fermented bland fruit. So it's not too pungent, not too strong, but you could definitely taste it. Then now we're going to go over to the French press. With the French press, we're getting all the sediments and all the oils. And so we're going to get a very, very strong cup of coffee. We're going to get all the flavors. This one, the sediment should be very strong. Should be. So we still get a little bit of that like fermented fruit flavor, but it's not nearly as strong. This cup is a little bit more balanced. We're getting more of the cedar woodsy flavor. But the cedar woodsy flavor and the fermented fruit flavor come together to kind of balance each other out. And then because it's got like that bitter kick to it, we get that sweet molasses. And that's because that bitter hits our tongue real quick and then washes away. And as it washes away, the remaining flavor tastes sweet. So we almost get like a sweet fermented fruit flavor with a lingering cedar flavor as well. So it's very, very balanced, really good. I like the French press. We have to finish this to taste the Chemex. Really good. I like it. This is probably one of my favorite Indonesian coffees, because typically when you get Indonesian coffee, the earthy or woodsy notes can be really, really strong or overwhelming. And so they tend to be like really bold coffees. With this one, it's on a lighter roast, and so the notes aren't super intense, and that's what I like about it. All right, let's try the Chemex. And so with the Chemex, it's a triple paper filter. So with this, we have a coarser ground coffee and a triple filter. So the coarser ground coffee will allow the water to pass through it faster, but the triple paper filter also slows down the water. So we're kind of compensating. So one of the main things with brewing coffee, we want to make sure that we get our grind right, our proportions, water, and freshness. And that's all important to making sure that our cup of coffee tastes right. And so when we switch from a pour over to a Chemex, we're going to do a slightly coarser grind, and that's because if we did the regular grinds from a pour over, the grinds are going to be too fine, and it's going to slow down the water, and then the triple paper filter is also going to slow down the water, and we're going to get an over extracted cup of coffee. So making sure that we grind our coffee for the appropriate brewing device is very important to making sure that we get a proper flavor cup of coffee. And that's important for us and the people who brew the coffee, because if we just brew our coffee and we brew it improperly and we can't enjoy it, we're doing a disservice to the people who grew it, because a lot of work goes into cultivating coffee and harvesting it and processing it, drying it and roasting it. And so for it to go through all those processes and to make it to our table and for us to brew it wrong is doing a disservice to all the hard work that went into making it to our table. And then also doing a disservice to yourself, because you could be enjoying your cup of coffee with the right flavors, but instead we're adding one extra scoop of coffee, ruining the flavor, or using unfiltered water, or using the wrong grind, and then we just kind of just deal with the fact that our coffee doesn't taste good and we just drink it. And so it's important to follow all these steps properly so that we can enjoy our coffee and we don't do a disservice to the people who brew it. So now we're going to try the Chemex. With the Chemex, we're getting a more balanced cup of coffee, but it's going to be extra filtered. So it's going to be very similar to the French press. So immediately when I smell it, I'm definitely getting a lot more of the cedar notes. That's something to notice with the Chemex, is we're definitely getting a lot more of the cedar coming from the aroma. That is so good. So with this one, we're definitely getting more of the cedar flavor. We're not getting much of that fruit flavor, the brightness that we were getting from the two other cups. But with the cedar flavor and it being so mellow, it's just so smooth. It's just a very, very balanced cup of coffee. It's really nice, really elegant. I really like the Chemex a lot just because of how clean and smooth it is. We get some really nice cedar flavor. You get a little bit of that fruit flavor that we're getting from the other ones, but it's an undertone. It kind of like the cedar flavor kind of masks that flavor the whole way through. We get a little bit of that sweetness as well along with the molasses, but it's not that easy to discern from the other two because the molasses is so subtle. The contrast in bitters to lack of bitters is not that strong, so that sweetness doesn't come out as much. Really good. So if I had a preference on the brew methods for this particular cup of coffee, I definitely would say the Chemex. The French press is really good as well. I really like the Chemex. The Chemex is really smooth, really subtle, really easy to drink. I could drink the whole pot and not have to add anything to it. With the French press, I could drink that one too, but it would taste much better if like maybe a little bit of cream added to it, just because it has a little bit more of those bitter notes. So for me, the Chemex is definitely my preferred brew. My second is the French press. I'm not a big fan of the pour over just because we get a lot more of that fermented fruit flavor at the very beginning. It gives it almost like a sour flavor. That's the difference in flavors through the three different brew methods for West Java, Indonesia. One of the current coffees available at Starbucks for the Reserve brand. So if you guys get a chance to try it, definitely get a chance to try it. It's super good. Probably my favorite Indonesian coffee so far. Just because Indonesian coffees tend to be really dark. This one's really subtle, really smooth, really nice to drink. The woodsy notes aren't too overwhelming. And so With Indonesian coffee and West Java in particular, it's really cool because West Java is one of the first islands in Indonesia to cultivate coffee. And so, way back in the day, before coffee was grown all over the world, coffee was only available in certain parts of Africa and Kenya, or so Ethiopia and Kenya, and then experimentally grown in other places of the world at the time. And so when the Dutch came into India and began to colonize that area, that's when they stumbled upon coffee. It was in India, and then they started to use coffee as a trading commodity. And so the Dutch, when they started to colonize other places around the world, they moved into Indonesia and they made their way to to Sumatra, and then they also made their way to the island of West Java. And so with West Java, they experimentally tried to grow coffee in West Java, and when they first attempted to grow coffee there, it actually failed because of some flooding. Some storms happened and the island flooded, and it essentially ruined all the experimental crops. They never got a chance to make it past a certain stage to fruition. And so they waited another 4 years, and then they tried again. And then after the 4 years, they were successful to cultivate coffee on the island of West Java, and that's essentially how it got its name. West Java being the name because it was one of the first islands in Indonesia to cultivate coffee. And then from there, it moved to Sumatra, and then the island of East Timor. And so with that coffee, we have through Dutch colonialism, we have coffee in Indonesia. And so there's a whole lot of stories to be learned about like colonialism and how coffee made its way into that area. I have several videos, especially the coffee on Sumatra, Aceh, specifically details on Dutch colonialism and how coffee affected that region of the world and the culture of the people there. So there's a lot of rich history. Some of it's sad history, some of it's good history, but it's all important to learn. That way we can avoid making the same mistakes that we made in the past. But very important is the small lot shareholder coffees that we have here. With these small lot coffees, Starbucks directly works with these coffee farmers so that there's no middleman in between. There's no one collecting the beans for them and selling them to Starbucks for them. We directly work with them. We make sure that they are following cafe practices. That way, the workers on the farm are being paid fairly. The people who own the farms and sell out the beans are being given a fair price for their bean, and that the environment is being taken care of. And so all these cafe practices are really important for helping farmers around the world continue to grow coffee and making sure that they're following ethical practices as well. And then another cool thing about these small lot coffees is the knowledge that they gain from working through Starbucks. And then even if they don't work through Starbucks, they can still gain that knowledge because Starbucks has nurseries all around the world where we develop and research new types of ways to cultivate coffee, new practices, environmentally friendly, sustainable, recycling water, anything that we can do to make coffee more sustainable for the environment, making it easier for the coffee growers to grow coffee, and then allow them to break even and then also go beyond even. And so one of the big things that's hitting farmers right now is just the difficulty of just breaking even in terms of like how much coffee they're producing out of their farm every year. And so a lot of the younger generations, they're actually moving away from coffee farming and going into like the technological field and the computer science and stuff like that because they don't see a future in coffee because of how hard it is to break even. And breaking even isn't providing for your family. Breaking even is just breaking even. And so in order for them to provide for their family, they need to break even and then some, and then the then some is what provides for their family. And so with these cafe practices and agronomy science that we're learning in all these different nurseries and sharing with the different farmers, we're allowing them to make it possible to break even and go beyond even, so that way they can have a sustainable livelihood and be able to provide for their family and then still grow coffee. And so there's a lot of cool things that we're doing. It's open source agronomy, so the farmers aren't required to pay for this knowledge. The farmers aren't required to grow for Starbucks for this knowledge. They can acquire this knowledge and then go grow for someone else. And so that's one of the cool things about it, is because Starbucks wants coffee farmers to be able to sustainably grow coffee, because they need coffee to be around for them to be able to be a successful company. And so it's kind of like an investment. You know, I invest in you, and then it's to ensure that everyone has coffee and that there's coffee around the world. And so it's really cool, all the different practices, and just how we can give back to the environment and create sustainability through crops, and then take this knowledge and then apply it to other crops. There's just a lot of cool things that has happened around the world, a lot of things that we're doing for the people around the world, and just sharing all this information. So if you guys want to learn more, there's a lot of cool stories on my channel. Check out one of the other videos. If you have a favorite coffee, there's probably a video for it. Thank you guys for joining me on today's coffee tasting. I had to redo this coffee tasting because I had some audio issues, so hopefully this time around it went okay. Thank you guys again for joining. Hit that like and subscribe button, and then check out all my other videos. There's a lot of cool videos, a lot of great stories, a lot of sad stories too, but it's important to learn it all. So thank you guys again for joining. Have a great day, and I hope you guys are appropriately caffeinated.